أنا اسمي Chukrallah. I'm the managing director of Berytech Fund 2. I'm going to give you some hints about how to approach a VC, any VC. I'm hoping to keep this on a plane where you can use these snippets of information with whatever VC you kind of meet anywhere. Before we talk about VCs, I'll talk about negotiation. لأنه when you're negotiating for something, whether you're trying to buy a car, to sell a car, to buy a home, or to buy whatever can be negotiated, if you don't know what you want before you begin, you are going to get a bad deal. أعطيكم مثل. You just negotiated to buy a home for $300,000. توصلوا نهار الدفعة, somebody says, I'm going to give you $299,500. You say yes or no. في check قدامكم, bank check, $299,500. If you're not prepared in your mind for what you really want, you might say yes and leave $500 on the table. Maybe $299,000 would work. Maybe $298,000 and $750,000 would work. So if you don't know what you want, you will always get a bad deal. The first point you have to do, especially when you're negotiating a set of complex parameters in your transaction, and we have people around the table here who have negotiated deals with us, you have to know what are the things that you absolutely want, what are the things that you would like to have, what are the things that you are not willing to give, and what are the things that you would perhaps in a certain situation you would be willing to give. Knowing that means that you've prepared, you've played scenarios, you've done your homework, you've read the terminology. Any game that's played, football, tennis, negotiation with VC عنده terminology. بالفوتبول بنسميها out, ما بنسميها غير شيء, بنسميها out, طلعت الطابة برا. It's the same thing. You have to understand what a drag along is, what a tag along is, what an anti-dilution clause is. These are the basics. You need to play the game, you need to read the rule book. You need to prepare exactly for what the VCs want. The VCs are commercial players. Although the central bank has provided us with the scheme that has given us our money, نحن مش دولة. We are people who are looking to make money. Which means that you cannot say, no, المصريات اجوا لعندكم ببلاش. That's not true. ما اجوا لعنا ببلاش. We work very hard to get them. You need to understand that we're trying to make money, and we know that you're trying to develop your business and make money ultimately. So once these fences are put in place, you kind of put the negotiation in its right framework. And then we can start talking about the stuff. What is the stuff? وهيدا أول سؤال. Do you know what is it that you're trying to do? Do you know what is it that you're trying to do? Do you know what your project is about? أنا Uber. بعد ما حدا بيعرف مين أنا. I go to my VC or to my angel and say, I want to do a taxi hailing app. I need to have a set of words, sentences, slides, concepts, drawings, videos that describe what I do. ما في يكون عم بعمل brainstorming مع VC when I'm actually providing them with an initial view of what I want to do. بقدر أعمل brainstorming مع VC تنحكي عن الفيجن بعدين, version 2, version 3, version 4. بس اللي عم بعمله اليوم لازم أقدر أعبر عنه ب3, 4 أو 5 دقايق. وإذا في شيء highly specialized and complex, maybe I'll take a little bit more time. So I need to know what is it that I am doing, what is it that I want, and how do I approach it, and how I communicate about it. I need to understand.
How can I protect myself? How can I protect myself?
You need to understand the rules of the game.
I want to protect it from you as a VC.
I'm telling you, you need to understand the rules. I'm a goalkeeper عندي. I cannot punch you in the head. I can only get the ball in with my hands. You need to understand the rules that work for me. There's a certain set of rules that I need to put in place to provide my VC and my investors يلي وراي with the right level of protection. Okay? You need to understand what my care abouts are. It's the same thing in a marriage, the same thing when you're buying a car, the same thing whatever you do, even if you're negotiating with your kid. You need to understand what I care about. If you don't understand that, you know that you will not ask me for stuff that I'm not willing to give away. ما فيك تنتظر مني إنه انتحر. Okay? So understand exactly what is it that I'm trying to do. We are more than happy for you to make a lot of money using our cash. But you have to understand that if it doesn't work, we need to recover whatever we've put in if we can. So هدول بيسموهم liquidation preferences. إذا منك عارف شو يعني liquidation preference, go read about it before you approach a VC. You need to understand إنه أنا I'm a minority shareholder عندك. إذا عندي 8% من الشركة and somebody wants to buy 51%, you cannot keep me stranded forever. At one point, I need to go out. You can negotiate the conditions, but you will most probably be forced to concede a drag-along right. You need to understand what that is. I'm not going to explain the terminology today, but you need to understand what I need to protect my investors. If you cannot play that game this way, perhaps you should change games. Okay? So هيدي أول نقطة. نوضح نصفي أفكارنا نلاقي الكلمات يلي بتصيب and approach the VCs on that basis. شو بك بوس؟ So here's what I care about. إذا أنا ما بقدر أعمل health care, you come to me, you're wasting your time and mine. Sectors of interest. إذا أنا ما بقدر أعمل very very early stage startup, بتقولوا أنا عندي فكرة عم فكر، عم ضيعوا وقتكم عم ضيعوا لي وقتي. Size of funds. I have the most brilliant freaking idea in the world. I need $200 million. أنا ما بقدر أعمل أكثر من 2 أو 3. فشو عم ضيعوا وقتكم؟ Decision makers. Who makes the decision on your side? Who makes the decision on our sides? Ask your VC. And we say that every time, all the time. You talk to me. You may hear me saying I will, but I am actually saying I will propose it. بكل meeting, and the colleagues are here and can tell you about this. I will propose it to my IC. My IC منه بجيبتي مثل My IC is not a rubber stamp. بدي اخذها للاي سي بدي بيعني اياها وبدي ارجع بيعها. I need to sell it to my IC, and I can guarantee to you that sales to my IC are not always easy. Okay? So you have to understand who the decision makers are. Are the people you see, me, my team, etc., important? Definitely. But the ultimate decision makers, the people who do not care about saying no to me, ultimately, you are not seeing them except the day of your presentation. So understand the process. Understand the process. Prepare a good presentation. I kind of like to say that I'm a content guy. I like to say, and the colleagues will disagree with me, that I like to understand the concepts and go deep in the details, etc. But shape matters. Shape matters. If somebody who's drunk gives you a fantastic health advice and he's a doctor, you will not follow it. Maybe he's the best diagnostician in the world. He says, take this medicine. You will not take it unless you feel that this guy is trustworthy. So the presentation has to be the same. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to pay $20,000 on animations and stuff, but it has to look good. It has to look professional. So spend the right amount of time. And I, for one, I don't know about you, have fucked up big time at university with my presentations. So I know what that means. I've been on the receiving end and I've been on the giving end. So pay attention to the way you structure your presentation. Pay attention to the fonts. Pay attention to the typos. Some anal people like myself hate typos. Make sure that you read your presentation. Clearly know where your business is going. عندي فكرة بتعقد. وشو بيصير بعد سنة إذا حدا فات؟ بنشوف. أوكي بنشوف. بس you have to have at least some of the likelier scenarios played out in your mind. ما فيك تقول أنا بدي أعمل مثل أوبر وما بفكر إنه أوبر معقول يعمل رياكشن علي. بدي أعمل أوبر ب$2 ببيروت. نحن هون كان في السكوتر هلا. ما في أعمل أنا سكوتر which is one of our investee companies. وماني عم فكر أوبر شو عم بيعمل. I have to take into account the fact that Uber might react. I have to take into account the fact that Uber might very well decide that they will put rides for free in a certain region for 1 week. How do I react to that? Do I have the firepower, the strength to resist this? So play out the scenarios. Spend time talking in open-ended conversations with your partners. قعدوا على الكرسي بلا white board. شو بيصير إذا؟ هدول ال what ifs are fundamental to you because you relate to people. When I come and ask you a question, you say, hey, well, you know what, by the way, we were talking about this yesterday, and here's what we think. بتكبها لغير محل، بتروح الطابة غير محل. So, what do you think about that? Conversations become more richer. A good VC will follow up with you. So the more you give details in an increasingly incremental way, the better you are at communicating breakpoints. Yani, we've been growing from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4%, and now I have this great idea. But you know, I told you about this last week. Now I want to do this, and here's why it was going to work. Communicate with your IC. إذا كل الوقت it's U-turns, you are going to lose the trust of your IC, of your VC من بعد ما يفوت. If you lose the trust of your VC من بعد ما يفوت معكم, you are not going to be able to raise a second round of funds. لأنه أنا كمان بخاف. You're not the only guys in fear. The unholy trinity of fear, greed, and envy is actually holding us all hostage. Okay, so understand the incentives of the individuals, of the institutions. Don't use fillers, blah, 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 if people don't like fillers. Don't use SMS if people don't like SMS. يعني, try to understand whether people like to interrupt you or not. Keep your cool. When you go to an IC, it's generally several people. In our case, it's 7 or 8 people, in addition to the people you've seen. You never know where the question is going to come from. Maybe you have the most brilliant sequence of presentation ever devised in the human history, but somebody might interrupt it and take you on a tangent. You need to keep your cool, answer the question, make sure you answer the question, and then come back to the stream, because you're the master of your fate. If I tell you you have 25 minutes and I derail you for 5, you have to tell me, you know what, you took 5 minutes, but I'm sure I'm going to claim them back, because that was not planned. You said it would be 25 minutes uninterrupted. Here you are. You interrupted me for 5. Bail yourselves out. If you're the CEO, founding CEO, مش ضروري تحكي كل شيء. If one of your colleagues tries to say, and by the way, ما تسكتوا ماشي الحال. He knows, he is cool, he is not under pressure while talking. Let him bail you out. Maybe you messed up. So be careful about the way you handle the room. Breathe. Stay cool. Your colleagues will bail you out. If you feel uncomfortable with the language, we don't have to do business in English. Do business in whatever language you can understand with the guys who are in the room. Okay? Make sure that you have a good communication with the people who are with you in the room. Boom. My presentation was not finished, but we can go to drinks. Here are the things that I was saying. Have the clear narrative, etc., etc., etc. هدول حكيتهم كلهم. Do not waste people's time if you know that it's not going to work. Okay? Do not be arrogant. There's only one Facebook in the world. There's only one Microsoft, only one Uber, only one Airbnb, and even those had problems. Do not compare yourselves to them. And maybe, just maybe, these guys are lottery winners. بس ثقوا إنه ربحوا. Do not think that you're God's gift to anybody. Listen, sometimes a conversation will divert, change, restructure your narrative, restructure even your strategy. Listen carefully to what people have to say. You don't have to do anything. Nobody's going to force you. But listen, it's a good idea to listen. We don't do much of that in this country. Let yourself be interrupted a little bit, but keep track of the conversation. أنا ما بعمل tag along. ما تجي. ما بعمل drag along. It's not worth having a conversation. Fee standards, that's what you need to do. You don't want to play the VC. يعني بدك انه الجولر يقدر يضربه للزلمه. مش عم نلعب فوتبول. نلعب غير شيء. نلعبوا هذيك اللعبه. Criticize an investor. نحن, this is not about killing free speech, but you have nothing to gain from criticizing an investor. You can antagonize us, or we can be open-minded and take it very well. But do not do it. You don't need to do it. Do not go personal. Do not allow people to go personal on you. Play the ideas. Criticize the ideas. Criticize the plan. Do not criticize people. They have nothing to gain by criticizing people. This is wrong. غلط. I don't agree. Better. There's also another alternative, even better. You're saying the same things. You're saying the same things. This is wrong, يعني I disagree, because you don't know if it's wrong or not. لشو بدك تقول له لواحد this is wrong؟ قل له I've thought about it and chose another route. Okay? Problem and solution. I have this fantastic idea. The best way to do شو كان عم بيقول توني فادي اليوم a vitamin. Great. Superb. Have a problem that's worth solving. Have a problem that is worth solving. This guy here is trying to solve or contribute to solving the problem of cigarette smoking. This is a big problem. How many people smoke in the world? 1 billion people smoke. So if you kind of reduce smoking for 500 million of those, it's a big fucking problem. Yani you will save money on the health systems, you will save money on public finances. It's a good idea. You will even save money perhaps on happiness. And you will increase your lifespan without losing quality. It's a good problem. I have this fantastic idea which means that, you know, ice cubes are clearer. I don't care about that. So I have a big problem to solve and come up with a solution which is credible. If the solution, and this is another thing that I want to talk about a lot, if the solution means that you need a PhD in chemistry, make sure that he's around the table right now. مش نروح لاقيه. If this solution needs somebody who's an expert in nuclear physics, get him on the table. If he's not your co-founder, you're not going to get the money. If there's a fundamental problem that needs some high-level expertise around the table today, you will not get the money by showing up with a clear, brilliant marketing plan. If you do, you're being set up for failure, and you're setting up your VC for failure, and everybody will be unhappy about it. So make sure that the skill set of the founding team is good. The founding team does not have to be a sect, a cult, يعني think alike, but they cannot be antagonistic. مش كل ما بدي احكي كلمة واحد بده يقطعني. So we have to be complementary, to have some healthy disagreements, but we have to act as a team. And once a decision is made, it is made. ما أنا قلت لك خلص خلصت، قلت لك you were outvoted. صارت فيي مش من زمان إنه تصوتنا على إنه رح ناخذ هاللوكال بدل هاللوكال. إيه بس لو أخذنا هديك ما فرقانة معي. You get on board with the decision that's voted. If the decision-making process doesn't suit you, find another job. So if you disagree with something and you're overruled, it's behind you. وإلا, we're always revisiting the same fights. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't advance. If you're able to do all of this, you're great. We're not all able to do all of this. I am not able to do all of this. But these are the things that we should be doing when we approach the VC and later on when we become a VC investee company. Understand that people like KPIs. If Facebook was put on the public market at $26 per user, مزبوط الرقم عم بعطيه, $26 per user, it doesn't mean if you have 1 million users you're worth $26 million. Make sure that your KPIs fit with it. When Facebook was put on the market, went public, it was worth $40 billion. Today it's north of $250 million. Why? Not because they have users, but because they have activated users. If you are an Uber user who only asks for food or cabs, you are not a Facebook user who has a web of relationship built around their Facebook presence. So you do not compare things without background. You upset people. You don't fool anyone. Nobody is fooled by you using headline figures. You will be asked for KPIs. Ultimately, any business which is worth its salt has to produce cash. Cash goes through revenues and margins. It may take time. It may not be immediate, but you will have at some point to have customers who pay you money to do stuff. And these customers have to be profitable. If you don't understand the language of commerce, some VCs like us will not be willing to listen to you. Ultimately, you have to understand that you have to produce revenues that are transformed into profits. Even Facebook is actually trading on a multiple of its future revenues, while Twitter, which is stagnating, is sinking. Why is that the case? If you applied the valuation per user to both, you would get wildly different valuations. واحد عنده 400 مليون، واحد عنده مليار و200 مليون أو مليار و400 مليون. Facebook is not worth 4 times Twitter, it's worth 10 times Twitter, because a user is not a user, is not a user. A user is an activated user in Facebook where they get engaged, they comment, they like, dislike, etc. On Twitter, people haven't yet figured out how to target them either for advertising or for payment. So these are some of the thoughts that I wanted to share with you about how to approach VCs. They're not exhaustive, but they're the sort of stuff that I would probably recommend you think about before you get to a conversation with people like us. Thank you. Thanks.